Hello, faces of art with Washira Mwangi, dramatic voice intro. Hello everybody, this is Washira Mwangi, Faces of Art. Thank you for joining us. Today's episode, we will be delving into the mind of Belle, a poet, jeweler, and stylist. We talk about the sources of originality, the wisdom of dark humor, especially in Batman, and why you should always be dressed to kill. People need to find a good-looking corpse when you're dead. This and more will be discussed in this episode. We hope you enjoy. And by the way, question, who is more emotional? A musician or a poet? This is one of the questions I ask her, and we investigate about it. And please, remember to subscribe and like. It really helps us to get this content in front of people when you subscribe and like. So, yeah. And with no further ado, I present to you Belle.
Belle is a poet, jeweler, and stylist. Her motivation is beauty and appreciation of self, because who are you if not yourself? And what better way to express yourself than illuminating yourself? Belle. Sometimes when you ask somebody to send you their profile and then they send it as distilled as that, it's how do you get there? Because it means whatever you distill at the bottom is quite refined so that you can express it in very few words. How do you compress words like that in poetry?
You can. You choose a word that evokes a feeling. So if it's something you'd say in a paragraph, because it's the same feeling you're getting, you find words that can carry a sentence. Say one word is like a sentence, like illuminating yourself. It feels like a whole paragraph, but it's just two words.
So it's about striking the emotion.
Yeah, it's
almost like bypassing somebody's reasoning.
Yeah. We reason too much, so we should reason less sometimes.
So you're actually short-circuiting people's brains. That should be illegal.
Well.
Because if you think about it, that's kind of what you're doing.
But we use our brain a lot. Sometimes you just need to relax and feel good. You have to appeal to all senses,
So that you can stop thinking for a while.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. So, poet, jeweler, and stylist. As far as the styling is concerned, have you ever had a period in which you became somebody like, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. You have the same costume every day. Like
No.
a corporate person who a suit every day.
No, I cannot. I can't. I can't live like that.
Even if in a situation that it demands it. You're the person in a war who's coming up with a new style to wear your combat gear.
I'd rather stitch a different color inside so that I just know it's not the same, rather than just plain out the same. You mess with something, maybe a button, a kind of stitch, something that doesn't, to break the monotony,
Because it's a new day.
It's like hearing the same sound. It's flat. It's very uncomfortable.
So it's every day.
Yeah.
Even if it's a slight change.
Even if it's a slight change, it's a change.
So, what determines what's going to direct that day?
I wake up and I'll know. I can't know before I wake up.
Trust.
Yeah.
Kenyan. So, take us through the process, because it must take some time. Because, personally for me, getting dressed is a matter of convenience. As in, you're wearing clothes for a particular work. So, I'll be wearing an overall when an overall is required, and I'll be wearing a shirt and jeans, a t-shirt and jeans, just on a normal day when an overall is not required. But no creative decisions are being made. It's just a matter of convenience. So, for you it's different.
Yeah. And that's the difference. You're thinking about it. You're thinking, this requires this. But for me, I feel like I'm best productive when I feel what I'm feeling. No matter what I'm feeling, I have to feel it. So if I put myself in an environment, and by that I mean the clothing that is my environment, when I put myself in an environment that this is what I'm feeling, this is where I am, I can be able to work with reality better.
It's like your first step of being honest with yourself at the start of the day.
Yeah, it's not about where I'm going. Where I'm going doesn't really matter. They can give me a specification, but hapa katikati I can find how I fit in, right? Yeah.
It almost sounds like you're aware of the story of Abraham when he was told to go to the promised land. Because it's almost the same process. He knows there's a land waiting for him somewhere, and he has a plan to get to it. But what happens in the middle is almost determined by the decisions right now.
Yeah.
So you have an idea of how the like, let's say for the purposes, the costume, the styling is going to look in the end. But you are leaving yourself free way to do whatever you want in the middle.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to come out exactly the way you picture it in your head.
No, it doesn't. I have tried that, and it can absolutely drive you crazy because you're going to fix. That's how perfection comes in. When you leave no room for change. I define perfection as a fixed idea. Because if you leave room for change, what will the determining factor will be if you feel good about it, if you like it. It won't be, oh, it's not perfect. It will be like, I love it. It will be either I don't feel it or I love it.
But right? It's also like, if you put perfection too much into it, it might also lead to you losing time and even losing resources, because it's like you're telling yourself, what I have available right now is not enough, so I have to go through this entire problem of creating this perfect thing that I need to get.
I always believe what I have now is what I'm meant to have now. If I'm going to get more, because for me, life is a chance, 50-50. I might gain the next minute, I might lose, I might live, I might die. So you always have to leave a 50% chance of anything happening. No matter what you have now, there's always that 50% in your ujui.
It's almost like freestyle rap. They don't know like how long they're going to keep this going, but they're saying this line with the trust that the next line will just come up.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Sogalo who mentioned that.
It's
almost the same thing, and I'm seeing that pattern in a lot of artists. Poeta mentioned the same thing.
I remember the article you sent me. I've been reading it a lot about how originality, you don't have to come up with it from scratch. I've been reading that, and it has really relieved me in a way, because I used to fix myself, oh my goodness, it can't be built on someone else's work. That's, what's the word? Is it appropriation?
It's like plagiarism.
Yeah, right? But I'm saying, if you get an idea from someone, you don't have to rack yourself for an original thing. Because there are people who inspire you. Yeah. Let someone inspire you, then learn of them, then build something, and that way we grow. And that has really liberated me in my work, especially with my jewels. So
with your jewelry.
Yeah.
So okay, you've sent me on a rabbit hole kidogo hapo.
Oh.
Kidogo too, because it's interesting. There's some part of it you have to leave to chance. So what stops us? That concept of leaving something to chance and just trusting the process is something that's being regurgitated in this studio over and over by people, even sometimes subconsciously without even saying it. It's like the plan will remain the same, but I'll change the methods as I move along.
Yeah.
I'll adapt, but the plan will stay in mind.
It's literally, you're going to die, but you don't know how.
Inamaanisha, that means that it's almost like you're doing an alchemy with death.
That's a very interesting way to put it.
It's almost like that's what you're doing, because death is supposed to frighten a lot of people into like, don't do this because the chances of dying is this and what, this is dangerous. But you yourself, you know that you can't predict it, so you're using it positively to tell yourself that?
For me, I think it's an inspiration to live. Like, I know I'm ultimately going to die. So which way is it going to be? It's clearly not this. So tomorrow I'll try this. It's living.
You're going to be a good-looking corpse, man.
Yeah, that's the goal. But I always tell myself whenever I leave the house, if I die today, I want to be picked and the first thing they say is not you look dead, but you look good.
Well, t-shirt coming.
Yeah, so it's a lot of pressure. But even when I'm going to the market, just outside the gate, I have to look good. You never know what's going to happen.
Talk about putting your best foot forward.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that the costume actually looks like... take animals, for instance. Look at that picture of a fox over there. As in, you would trust that is a mischievous animal. Mm-hmm. You could say that it's mischievous. The fox, the ears and whatnot, the look, the fur, the size.
The face structure.
The confidence despite its small size. So it can bullshit its way out of any problem.
Yeah.
But now the lion isn't a bullshitter.
True.
It actually looks like it's the boss. It walks like it's the boss. And that's its natural costume. Mm-hmm. Vultures actually look like they are scavengers. They don't even have hair on their necks and heads so that they can do that job. They look foul, like the job they do, important as it is. Mm-hmm. So probably if nature is doing it automatically, probably you're also doing the same thing without even knowing. We're actually dressing up like our roles.
Yeah, that's dope. I think it's really exciting, and I don't know, I enjoy it when people try that. Experiment, make every day different. For me, for example, Leo, I've never done this style before. I just got to my closet. I had a whole outfit planned yesterday, of course, contingency plans, but I know when I wake up, I'll pick something different, but still, I have something that's equal to Apple.
It's like the basics.
Yeah, like your basics should be your personality. So whatever you have to change, add to that. It doesn't take away, but it's just, like I say, it's like...
So one day you won't come here dressed like the Mandalorian or something? Like a Star Wars character? As in, that's not part of, like, you... Because there are people who actually do that. So now...
But I love... I really love Batman, and I know I'm one of those people. I'll definitely do a costume just because it's no special occasion, but I'll just do it.
Batman has always been an edgy type of character.
Yeah.
As in, even the origin story of Batman is pretty tragic.
Yeah.
The movies are always dark.
No sense of humor.
Except
like it's a twisted sense of humor.
Because the joke, what was the Dark Knight? The Joker in Dark Knight. He had a sick sense of humor.
I was watching an episode with my niece, and someone said Batman was fighting the Joker. I don't know what he said, but it was pretty dark about someone dying. And it got... I subconsciously started laughing. And then I realized, oh my God.
A sick sense of humor.
Yeah, she was looking at me like, that is so sad.
Somebody else said it or Joker said it?
No, I could see in the face of my niece, like, that was a sad comment, but you're laughing.
There's a particular level of understanding that you've reached.
Yeah.
There's a guy called Jack Donnavan. I believe his name is Jack Donnavan, and his website is the same, jackdonovan.com. He wrote this article saying, I don't care. You should check it out. You might not agree with everything he's saying, but you can say kind of the wisdom with it, because the reason why you're laughing is that you might as well just laugh, because it's not making much of a difference. It's actually going to give you a good feeling to a tragic thing.
Right, and I find laughter very nice way of coping with bad news. I have this bad habit. You tell me something really bad, my first reaction would be to laugh. I would not instantly cry. I would laugh, and it's a prolonged laughter. I have to take a moment for myself.
And it's something tragic.
It's something tragic. So that's my way of dealing with it, because I'm trying to understand it. It's my disbelief mode, I guess. But I don't know. For me, laughter, crying, something.
Like, it's almost like a coping mechanism.
Yeah. I think it allows me to breathe and, just take it in before you react.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it helps a lot. It helps a lot, I think.
I guess we should all find some sort of outlet for everything. Because
yeah.
Like most of comedy is usually just tragic comedies. It's stories about people's failures and stuff, but
tragedy.
but in a comical way.
And the funniest part is that you can relate with them.
You can relate with them.
That is the funniest part.
Because most of life is actually failure.
Yeah.
Most of life is actually suffering and failure. Like
everything is suffering either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
So let's just make fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Comedy. No wonder I've been actually thinking the past 2 days, if I could share with you. Like I was looking at genres of film and stories. Alafu nika realize in films particularly, the ones which are probably, I don't know if this is the real word, the most authentic are the satires. Because the satires strip down everything to the bare minimum.
And that's timeless and beautiful, because suffering, human beings, we are only connected by emotions. Mm-hmm. Reasons need to separate, actually, because you start reasoning, you don't speak this, you don't speak this. But when you feel, there's no language per se. It's just energies. There's no language per se. But with reason, there's a language and there's a specific code that can define you to be here and not be here. Like
euphoria, it can go through all those people at the same time.
Yeah.
Down to the basics.
And that's the hello of music.
Music. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
Music, we have to go revisit this. Musicians or poets?
Musicians.
Those are the most, what's it called?
I've really thought about it. Musicians.
So they are the most emotional?
The most emotional.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually narrow it down to poets, musicians, and dancers.
Musicians. Musicians can do all those, but neither a poet nor a dancer can do music.
Because musicians actually pour a lot.
Are poets who, whatever thing they do with their voice.
Because a painter or a writer might be very internal.
Okay, sir, let me just say this.
Sir,
let me tell you. I don't think musicians are the most emotional. And the reason being, every poem a poet writes invokes emotion. Sindio? But not every song a singer or a musician makes does that.
Have you met a lot of poets? No. Some poems will straight up, you'll be like, what did I just read or what did I just hear? Not everyone, okay, if you start arguing along those differences, then you'll realize...
Yeah, with poetry, what I see is that with poetry, somebody actually has to pay attention to the words and actually understand the language. It's not going to translate well. Mm-hmm. Music, on the other hand, the crescendo will have in an opera will have the same effect to a person in one culture as opposed to, and a person in another culture. They both feel uplifted by a sound because it's gone to the core.
That is what I was saying. Poetry and dance has reason. Ndio maana kuna dancing styles, kuna poetry styles. Yes, music has been subdivided, but ndio maana unaona the greatest ones, they step out of that. And it just comes from them. It's nothing that has been scripted. It's nothing that is taught. Inatokea tu, it just comes out of them. But with poetry, I have to write in my language, think of this. Yes, it's like a channeling emotion. Say an emotion is water. Mm-hmm. I put it in this cup and I show you. Mm-hmm. I think that is poetry and dancing. Yes, in emotions, it will capture you as well. But in music, I think something happens. This water is shaken.
It's like the water is not in a container anymore. It's kind of being wild.
Like it's for you to catch it. You don't have to listen. You don't have to understand. It's for you to catch it. But with poetry, you have to know, what are you talking about? With dance, you have to know what, like, yes, con emotion. I found that in dance, for you to get to that very emotional point, you have to be really attentive and follow the steps, follow the rhythms, their movements. But with music, you could close your eyes, you could be outside, but just listening to someone's sound, like what they do with that sound, it changes everything, I think.
Have you ever seen this thing where it actually gets to me sometimes? And I've seen people talk about it as well, is when you have one track on loop.
Yeah. I go through phases where sometimes I listen to one single music for a whole week.
One single piece of music.
Day, night, for a whole week.
Yeah. Because that's weird. Because you can't do that with a film. Even if it's a short film.
You can't.
You can't do that with a video. You can't. Because, for instance, I've been arguing that the reason why Interstellar had such a massive influence on people who watched the movie was because it focused so much on the music. Mm-hmm. The soundtrack from that movie was recorded using an organ in a cathedral. So it feels like it's alive, like it's breathing. Mm-hmm. And the stories, the director didn't tell the composer, Hans Zimmer, that it's a science fiction. He just told him it's a father going on a very long journey, and it's the last conversation that he's having with the son, right about that. But once the music was written and the story was in, they recorded it on an organ. So that's why it sounds so powerful. Like when that movie communicated with people because of the music.
Music is something else. Music is just something else. Yeah, I think it would be the unfiltered emotion. Then these other forms we rationalize before we put it. I feel like there's a lot of thought going into it.
Have you ever listened to a track and you saw the story, even if the words you didn't understand?
I love classical music.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's always a story. It can be different from what the person is talking about in music, but there's always a story. There's always a picture. There's always texture. I feel like it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing.
It's a journey. It's a trip you're going on. It's not a cool beat over and over.
No.
It's not pop. But pop is churned out fast.
Yeah.
Pop music is churned out
But
fast.
we're moving into fast life anyway. We like the fast life, so...
There's a story I saw, I don't know if it's true, that one of Mozart's orchestras, he wrote it the night before the performance, while his wife was singing to him. He had been drinking and partying, he hadn't written it.
Art, I think art is like some supernatural stuff, because sometimes you may think you're sick or you've been just down the whole day or you just can't focus, but then a piece comes to you and it will be clearer than any other thing. It doesn't even matter how you're feeling, but that has to come out.
And it has to come out now.
Yes. Like you have to literally stop yourself, whatever it is you're going through or whatever you're feeling, that has to stop and be aside, and then do the art, then go back to whatever you were feeling or who you were before that.
So it's traveling within and just stopping there and just being there for an extended period of time.
I think so. I think it's... Okay, personally, I don't believe my art is mine. It's a collection of inspirations that I just bring it to life. I just share it with people. Because if I trap it inside, it will die inside anyway. It's a collection of inspiration. What you do with it is what matters. Because sometimes, and I find this, that's why I love necklaces. Sometimes you just start, or you just lay out the beads and look at them. And I don't know, something just happens. You just decide to try things. It's not like you pre-planned it. It's not like you've seen it before. Just imagine it's going to be there. And if you look at it closely, I always study my pieces after making them. it's inspiration. There's always something you relate with there. There's always something you've seen before. Oh, I had forgotten about that. So it's not like an original, it came out of nowhere. It's like a journey that's finally reaching destination.
You imitate before you innovate.
Yes.
It was a good article.
Yeah, it was a really good article.
Because some of the people who are also in that problem are comedians, back to comedians again. Because for them to get good at what they do, they need to kind of even like rehearse other great comedians' pieces and like practice delivery and whatnot. So you like get a piece like a paragraph from George Carlin, and because George Carlin could make people laugh even with its change in tone variation to show you like a sudden change in affairs in the story he was giving you or something. He was a performer. But if you do that and probably you practice it somewhere, it's automatically go, even without any changes. Maybe if you do some changes, it will be considered plagiarism. But if you do a cover of a song, it's okay. It's almost kind of you're paying homage to somebody else. So that thing you said about having, doesn't poetry then have like very strict rules? Like, what if you take a line from somebody else? Is it now theft? Am I still imitating?
I really have no idea. I feel like I've seen people do that. I've seen people who are inspired by other people sleep in some aspect of them. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's illegal, but I feel like you should quote. I know with performance, when you're performing, you quote them. Like you slip the name of a person into the poem somewhere to give credit to the person.
Yeah.
So,
but there are also some experiences you can't. Can you? Because there are some influences your heroes have on you that you are not even aware that it's from them.
Yeah.
But it really inspires the way you do your process.
I feel like you will. I feel like there's a difference. When your heroes inspire you, it won't come out like they did it. You can't even see it outright. But when you sit and look at the pattern and how it came about, when you go back to the thought process. I always make the art, then go back to the thought process. That's where you find the inspiration. Like the result sometimes is not even relatable to that person. But when you see how you got there, you find the inspiration. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Like even finding out they had inspired you in some way is still good enough.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing. I think it's good when someone inspires you. They don't have to be your hero. They can be a stranger. They can be even someone you don't like. That's the beauty of life. I feel like it's good when we inspire each other. However way we do.
TikTok videos are inspiring. People are inspiring each other. Take somebody's song, you dance to it, you put it online.
See, everybody's happy.
Chances are you get more views than the person who made even the song.
Yeah.
But you're still paying homage because it's their song.
Yeah. And I feel like more people will read them. They'll like you and know, where did this song come from? Why am I just singing now?
So it's not a fight.
It's not a fight.
The internet is actually supporting collaboration.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a fight because either way, they will trace back to you. You will want to, if you really like something, you'll be curious, where did it come from? Why am I just singing it now? Then you'll obviously get to the person.
So there's that. There's the inspiration, the people you looked up to, but also there's you.
Yeah.
So you are one of those people who's taking part in the creation of this thing.
Absolutely. I feel like you're the most important part because you're the ones to do justice to the inspiration. You're like, it's like cooking food, no jeka salt, and you're a salt-eating person. How much you like the food, it wouldn't make sense. So I feel like you're that salt that's needed to really give that thing life. Whatever flavor, like you're the flavoring that inspiration
that
needs.
goes through
because
everything.
Anyone can get that set of inspiration, but what flavor are you? What flavor do you do to it?
And it's a very unique flavor because it's only in you.
It's only in you. No one else can give that flavor. That's why I feel like sometimes we even get the same inspiration, but the flavor we add to it, that will determine what kind of people we are. And that's the difference between art, because for me, art is emotional. How can you paint this emotion that I can't? And that's what's attractive about it.
So what in a situation where there are all these voices in your head, all these voices of the inspirations, all these influences you have, but for that chemical X, you have to add to it. You have done sugar, spice, and everything nice. Now that chemical X, that drop of whatever has to be added has to be you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might not be loud enough.
I feel like it's not loud enough when you limit yourself, when you censor yourself. You say when you create like people won't like this, people will judge this, then you won't be loud enough in your own artwork.
In your own?
In your own piece, whatever art you're doing. If you consider other people during creation, like if you think about it during creation, I feel like you'll ruin it with other people's opinions. They will cease to be inspiration, but opinions now.
Because they've already done their part.
Yes. They've done their part to inspire you. Now your work is stop at inspiration. Leave opinion to whatever will come after.
It's not the time for the opinion.
It's no time for opinions.
The time for the opinions once it's been shared.
Yeah. Opinion should not come before it's shared.
So that middle part is yours.
Has no business.
The second act is yours.
Has no business for opinion.
That's actually a good model to keep in mind and to remind yourself about.
Yeah.
How would it be designed in a shape? It would look like a diamond, kinda. A point at the top, a point at the bottom, a bulging center, two other points. So this part is huge. Kuna zile, the spark that started it all, ama the sparks that started it all, and it has to. There's this central part that is very important. Start out small, but it's huge in terms of what's required there.
I think of it like when you stretch out two hands, there's always this side, your left side and your right side. Each has a point, then kuna we katikati. It always starts with other people. It always starts from outside. Inspiration utoka nje, most of the time. Na itaishia na opinions. So whatever is here is what has to come here so that we get back the inspiration again.
So it's better even with hands by the inner kamzuri. The center will always be you.
The center will always be you. The before and the after will be here and here, but there's always you.
There's something Annie mentioned in her podcast when she was here, Joy Richu. She said this thing about it's like being your true self in terms of your creation. It's like it's almost like you have to kill something. And you have to this part of the ego that's telling you this and that and the other. Its time is not now.
Yeah, your time. What you say, most people, what they do is suppress them. When you suppress them, they'll come out in ways that you don't expect. But when you tell them, your time will come, I'll listen to the opinions, I'll feel bad about it, but it will be out there already, right? That's the time for me to feel bad about it, then go back and create better. Or if I'm to improve on something, then I'll do after that.
So even your ego, when it's starting out, when it's being inspired and when it's receiving feedback at the end, that's when it's required. But in the middle...
In the middle, no. When I'm creating, no ego. When you're being praised, when you're told it's bad, that's when it's required. Like, I know you're there, but it's not time yet. I don't say you're not valid, I should not feel you, you're negative. No, it's not time to feel negative yet. We're just here, then we'll move on to that.
It's a negotiation.
Yeah.
You're not forcing it, as in basically, there's a part you play on this team, but it's not this one.
It's not this one.
It's that one,
yeah,
and the other one at the back there.
I feel like that is this union. Like, life is simple, but if we struggle with it, it will struggle back. So don't struggle, just negotiate through it.
Oh, I remember exactly what she said. She said about, Joy Richu talked about how you start thinking you need to make a painting of an elephant because African art is supposed to be an elephant.
Yeah.
You think you need to paint an elephant because you think that's what the market requires.
Yeah.
So the market has already dictated what, that middle part that's you, that's between the two outstretched arms, it's not doing its own thing. Because, maybe the market needs an elephant, the picture of an elephant, let's say, in a simplistic way, just to narrow down the argument. But you have to paint that elephant in your way, completely.
Yeah.
It has to be you. There's that part is so important, and almost like it's like we block ourselves from getting there.
Right? I always do this simple trick. Like, if you feel like opinions are getting the better of you, just say a word and write the first thing you think about when you see that word. Say another word, the first thing that comes in your head when you think about that word. What's related to what you're trying to do? Then now you realize what you really think about that, not what other people think. Because if you think it for another minute, you'll say, oh, but Nani said, but I heard this, but I read this. No, just say a word and what pops in your mind, that's you.
That's honesty.
Yeah.
It means you're just telling the truth.
Yeah.
And you're starting the truth with yourself first,
Yeah.
before anything else.
If you can't lie to yourself and be truthful to other people, I refuse to accept that. If you're lying to yourself and you're telling me you're honest, I will not believe that a day in my life. That's a lie. Because I believe we love ourselves more than we love other people. I don't understand how you can love someone more than you love yourself.
It's almost near impossible.
It's near impossible. But it's not, people do it. People do it. But for me, I believe you cannot love someone nearly as much as you love yourself. I mean, you spend the most time with yourself, and you will. You know you better than anyone. You're the one who keeps your secrets. You're the one who decides what to tell. Like, you can't protect someone like you protect yourself.
Even in a dangerous situation, people shooting guns.
Even when you make a decision, it will be, oh, it makes me look good, I'm going to do it either way, but my chances of survival are this. You have to calculate the risks, and still, yes, it will be a selfless act, but you have gone through it first and you agree with it. That means yourself first.
It's strategic selfishness.
Yeah.
As in, it's actually even good for the society, because you've removed yourself as a liability in society. You're actually taking care of yourself.
Exactly.
So it's not left to other people to take care of you.
Yep.
You've done your part as far as making the society work. But still, how important is structure? Because that middle part is almost like it's fluorescent. It's almost fluorescent.
Yeah.
It has to burn. It's like resources have to go into this because how important it is.
Now that is the tricky part. That's where I believe in cohesion of self. The opinions and the inspirations. How do you unite the people's opinions with inspiration? Because I believe they have to interact at some point. Everything within you has to interact at some point. Was it separate opinions, people's opinions, and this? This person said this. How do I feel about that? How do I choose to handle that? Yeah? That will inform your inspirations. That will also inform how you control yourself to people's opinion when you create, how protective you are of yourself. So cohesion is what keeps it apart, because that tube has to keep burning. If you let people in, then you see now it starts to wither. They suck up all the energy, the light out, and you start to wither. That's when you don't protect it's sacred. The central part. Yeah, it's sacred. And I feel like that is the duty of a human being. Preserving the thing that is your life, because otherwise life is the same. Life is equal. Life is life. Be it a rat, be it a human being. It's life. It's one thing. But now, what is in this life? Like, I feel like that is the only business we have in life. Like,
because this antenna that is Belle, antenna in the universe is only.
What is it?
It's a unique one.
Yeah.
This receiver is only one.
Yeah.
There's a sense of grandiosity that idea brings up.
It shouldn't. I don't believe it shouldn't.
Because
grandiosity would mean you think you're bigger than someone. But when you think like life is life, your life is as good as the life of a rat, what makes you any bigger? It's just you're different, that's all.
It reminds me of, I think I've recommended this film to you before. You've watched Monty Python and the Life of Brian. I
should. I have to.
So the story is of Monty Python and the Life of Brian is a satire about how this guy called Brian was born next door to Jesus, and the three wise men confused his house for the house of Jesus. So his entire life, people are following up on him as if he's the savior, and he's always trying to tell people, it's not me. but everybody is throwing all the responsibility on him. So one day he wakes up in his house. He opens the window, and there's an entire mob of people outside his window waiting for him to give a speech because he's the Messiah. And he says, it's just not me, it's everybody.
That is so humble.
It's not just me, it's everybody. We are all different. Alafu, the entire crowd goes in unison. We are all different. And then there's one guy in the front who says, I'm not. So he was actually a different guy in the entire crowd. The people weren't listening. They were just chanting out what Brian was saying over and over. But I really loved that scene about you really don't know. Sometimes you could be consumed by an idea to the point that you actually think it is your own.
Yeah. It's weird. Most people think ideas are their own.
There's nothing new under the sun.
There's nothing new under the sun. We are all just part of something that we live in. Someone else will pick it up and think it's new again. It's
regurgitation.
Yeah, it's life.
It's true. It's true. It's so true. As in, these things have always been here.
Yeah.
The sun has always been rising from that side, setting on the other side. We give there's a guy who I think it's Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday wrote in one of his blogs, I believe, that if you read the journals of people in the past about their day-to-day, because there are journals going up to like 1,500 years, you can get like Marcus Aurelius' journal is like 1,500 years, and you can download the PDF and read it. And it's in modern English, as in it was written in a stoic way, so no big flamboyant words, it's just straight. When you wake up in the morning, the people you are going to meet are going to be greedy, selfish, ignorant, annoying, but you have to see that all those negative traits that are in them are also in you.
Yeah.
So be humble a bit and just deal with them in this day the way they are.
I always believe we are all part of the problem. You cannot say there is a problem and you also live there. If you live somewhere, there's a problem somewhere. What are the chances you're not part of the problem?
You're making a contribution to it.
Yes, no matter how small it is, you're part of it. So whenever there's a problem, you cannot feel like, let me step out and look at it like this. You have to step into the problem because you're part of the problem.
There's a lecturer in the US. I think it's in the US, but most recent. You see the way most philosophers, you see, like there's a philosophy that's 2,000 years, 1,000 years. The texts were written in Kitambo. This is a recent one, and a recent famous one, because there have been many. Who part of his classes in university was to take his students outside to clean up the streets, and the other faculty members didn't like that. He was saying that, okay, there's a problem in this area, it's dirty.
Yeah.
So some of these problems are not going to solve them in the classroom. These young men need to understand that they need to go out there and like be proactive.
Yes, and I don't know, cleaning, I find cleaning refreshing, and living in a clean place, it's very refreshing. It may not be all that. I don't know, I've talked to a couple of people, maybe it's the people I've spoken to, but people often associate with cleanliness with fancy. You have to be fancy to be clean, I need a space, organize it. It doesn't matter what's in that space. If it's clean. It can be as old as whatever, but if it's clean, for me, it's as good as life, because an untidy place is very uncomfortable, and I feel like it's our collective responsibility to do that. It saddens me when I walk. I love walking. When you walk, there's just trash all over. Alafu unaona dustbin hapo mbele, and you're like, really? You could have just taken 3 steps and just dropped it in there.
In the collective landscape, mental landscape, there's a way we can check each other out for that.
Yeah.
There's a friend of mine told me about it. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I didn't watch it was a series of documentaries mostly about South Korea, about how they were reducing. I think one of them was reducing violence by changing the street lights of a place to blue instead of the usual yellow. So a blue hue makes people chill. Like even if you look websites you need to chill, it's like Facebook and Twitter. For you to spend a long time there, to look at the sky is blue. So they change the lights to blue.
And the hospitals love blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the hospitals love blue as well because it's a relaxing color.
It
gives
it's a warm
space.
color.
It's not really warm, but it gives space.
No, like if you don't see it, you see warm. Like it has a warm feeling. It's not a warm color. It's a color with warmth.
Yeah. So there was one episode they were talking about. They came with a landscaping team. There was some garbage thrown around some apartments in an alley. They came in the morning when nobody was around, very early. They cleared everything. They dug up the place. They put up benches. They put up new grass, like in carpets, vizuri. The tiles, everything. They made it like a place you'd walk slowly with a friend as you're chatting.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like one day when I'm able to, I can do that for leisure. It's
fantastic.
Nice. Yeah.
But people know that's the place where they dump their garbage.
Yeah, that is the frustrating part.
So what happened is that they stuck a camera on the opposite side and they checked it out. So people were coming as usual with their garbage bags to throw away garbage. But they'd get there and they'd see the park. And now it's awkward to throw an entire bag of garbage in the middle of a park.
Yeah.
Because the first person who throws that banana is the one who's influencing others. Oh, there's a banana here. So I can also throw this bottle. I can throw this wrapper. And it affects us all. As in, we are all, it's the same thing you've said. You're part of the problem.
Yeah. Jenna, it annoys me. That's why I do not like going to CBD. Someone will use, it's their dustbins. You could have just hold it in your hands for a few more steps and just dump it. Really, I don't know how we'll handle that, but I feel like we need to learn that. We could use less garbage. We're already we have enough to deal with than walk and see litter here.
Because even if it's not profitable in terms of cents and shillings, it's actually good for us if we actually lived in a clean place because we'll benefit in so many ways out of living in such an environment.
Do you know the non-profitable things are actually the ones that are good for us? If you clean a place, you won't need to find something to relax you. Just walk in a clean place. You'll already feel relaxed. But because you live in an environment that is so dirty, you feel like you're claustrophobic. You need to go somewhere to relax.
Yeah.
You need to breathe. But what if you were living in a relaxed environment every day? You won't need to go there. So in the long term, it saves you the extra shillings you want to save.
Because then Nairobi we are on prime. Considering the climate of this place.
Imagine if it was clean, if Nairobi was just clean.
Wow.
It would be really gorgeous. It would be gorgeous.
And plus, on a clear day, you can just see Mount Kenya from Nairobi very well. If we designed it properly for the view of the mountain in the morning, because it's a wicked place. Because there's savannah on one side, and the forest there on the edge is pretty good as well.
Nairobi is amazing. Imagine if Uhuru Park was well taken care of. Achana na hizo nyasi, the trees apart nini. It was just decorated. Ukiingia, it's already relaxing. Maybe someone can buy a flower and put it if you feel like. Just a place you can put flowers for those who love flowers. Just because you don't have to buy for someone. You buy for you because if you put it there, it's going to add to the collection and the beauty that you are going to see.
You're making your own contribution to the entire thing.
Right? I think it would be lovely.
A park.
Yeah.
A good park.
Good park.
So it's not profitable. It's
not
built with the idea of profit in your mind. It's built
with the idea of you in mind.
Yeah.
What do you want to see? How do you want to relax? Then you make it yourself.
Like those statues you find, those life-size statues of I think mostly of bronze that are in the middle of cities. Yeah. You've seen those, like you see 3 rabbits running across the street, small rabbits, they're the size of rabbits, but they are made of brass. And it's a sculpture, it's just there, just to make that place look good. It gives a lot of interesting, people like taking those photos with such kind of sculptures. You've seen them?
Animals, yeah.
It doesn't have to be an animal, it's life-size. It can be a person who's walking, but they're
people
made
love to do that when they think no one is watching. It's the funniest thing.
Made of bronze. Oh my God. To go full circle.
I know. Wow.
We've gone full circle. So, I need to ask you if there's something coming up, because if we continue, we can continue here forever with you.
Yeah.
Having this conversation was fantastic. You said you were taking a break. Is there anything we can expect from people? Where can people find you?
My socials, I'm setting up the page for my jewelry. It will accompany my poetry.
Okay.
I've stepped away kidogo. I was working on my strategy. You can't just go, I'm doing this, and there's no sync, they're not syncing. So I decided I sell jewelry with poetry. When I sell you a piece, it comes with a poem, like a card.
Wow.
So every time, that is about the piece. And if you bought the piece, maybe that's somewhere new. And I want all my poems to be beautiful. It has to be something that makes you feel good about yourself. Even if it's sad, even if it's happy, even if it's mad. But it's not mad in a way that makes you want to rip something apart. It's a mad that makes you acknowledge, oh, I'm mad. It's just an acknowledging thing.
The truth of self.
Yeah.
But it has to be something deeply principled and at the core, because unless you're doing it custom for somebody.
That is what I like first. And that is why I don't have a shop online, because I find it difficult to make something for someone blindly. I have to know a personality that I'm working with. My things are inspired with people. Like, what's your favorite color? What does that say about you? What are your favorite shapes? How do you play with numbers?
Okay.
Like what I'm wearing now, it's all my favorite numbers.
All
That's
your
how I
favorite
make my
numbers.
things, yeah. So when I know who I'm making for, I'll know how to mix it up.
What do you mean numbers? Amma, that's another rabbit hole.
That's another rabbit
Do
hole.
we have time for it?
No, it's a lot, but some people have numbers. They're numbers you attribute to things. They're numbers that reminds you of things.
Like birthdays and stuff.
No, not birthdays. Far from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's numbers. For me, some numbers reminds me of emotions. When I say this number, what's the first reaction on my face, When I know I'm wearing these numbers, how does that make me feel, Yeah. Something like that.
Belle, I really appreciate this. Give us your social media handles, palitakupata na kama kuna website.
Instagram _13ELLE, Facebook 13ELLE.
Rewind on that kama hujashika. You can always rewind it. So Belle, thanks for coming. Thank you everybody for listening. If you like more of this, please take the time to smash.
Yeah,
subscribe hapo kwa kona hapo. Twanga hiyo kitu, vunja screen, break your screen. For the love. We appreciate Faces of Art. We are out.